Happy Sunday, Beyond the Gates fans, here with the usual weekly preview of the show, the week of August 3rd. In what is seeming like it could be the first promising week in a while, I will say, I do feel like since the Hayley and Bill storyline is finally moving again, things seem to be going in a better direction, or at least, a direction in general. But let's get to the video preview first, which first showed Mona wanting to play a poker game or something with Joey at the casino for Randy's soul. I mean, I don't know if this is Mona's way of trying to bargain with Joey to get Randy out from under Joey, or for, working for Joey. We know that Mona has been trying to get Randy to church and all of that, trying to help Randy find Jesus. But maybe, she has to get the devil on his shoulder away first, and that is Joey. We also see Mona is later holding hands with Randy, or maybe even praying with Randy. So they seem to be ramping up the Mona and Randy part of the story when it comes to her really trying to save his soul. I guess that's what they've been doing with Mona a lot. Hopefully these scenes are not as cringe as they can be when it comes to Mona and Randy, in my opinion. Next, we see Dani telling Anita or someone that it looks like Hayley is cheating on Bill. Anita then says her massage can wait. I'm assuming this is going to be part of the whole who is Sammy/Randy and why is Hayley always with them? Now, we know they're cousins, but as Hayley's lies start to unravel, I feel like this is a way that the story can go that is natural, that people are going to start accusing Hayley of having an affair with this Sammy/Randy person. And of course, Dani would be the one to drive that. So I'm kind of looking forward to these scenes, unless it's going to be more of Dani being pathetic about Bill. Naomi, next in the preview, says, "Speak of the devil, and she shall appear," as Hayley is arriving, and Chelsea wants to know what Hayley is doing there. This must be more tension ramping up between Bill's daughters and Hayley yet again, as this Hayley storyline moves, and as Naomi and Chelsea seem to be a part of unraveling Hayley's lies. I do think that is a good direction for the story. I do think all of these characters should be involved in Hayley's eventual demise, that I do think will come, because, she was someone that got into their lives as a con artist and ruined a lot of their lives, ruined a marriage, tore up a family for a while. So it only makes sense that Naomi, Chelsea, even Kat, which we'll get to, are all involved with this. Carlton, in the preview, tells Nicole that she can rest in his arms, but she has to take a rain check. And then later we see her with Kial, and Carlton is looking on at them. Is this going to be them ramping up Carlton's jealousy where Nicole and Kial are concerned? I can see that. But they kind of missed their chance at turning Carlton into a more interesting villainous character by making him obsessed with Nicole or something, because they can't really turn him into a stalker now, since we already have what seems to be a storyline of Andre being stalked from someone in the past. So I don't really know what they can do with Carlton to make him at all still interesting with the whole Nicole and Kial stuff. We see Leslie saying something in the preview that I really couldn't make out, about how Nicole is getting laid at the hotel, and we see her there with Carlton. I am wondering if Leslie is going to mess with Carlton, try and ruin things between Nicole and Carlton and Nicole and Kial. Is this some sort of Leslie having petty revenge on Nicole being the one to break the news to Leslie that Ted and Shanice are in love now? I can see that happening, but I don't care about Nicole's love triangle, and I really just wish the show would give Leslie something actually engrossing to do. In the preview, we see Martin telling Tyrell that he is not half-assing his way through college. Tyrell says he is tired of listening to everyone tell him what to do. He is 18. Maybe a little bit of rebelling from Tyrell here. We do not see nearly enough of Tyrell and Jessica, and we're already over a month into the summer. The show has again missed a chance at a teen storyline in the summer, which is what soap operas of the past would do to gain younger viewers. And even though the show has not lost its total viewership too much this year, it has lost some of its younger audience in the demo. This was a chance to turn that around. They're not doing it. Last in the preview, we see Anita getting frustrated while playing the piano or something, and Vernon seeing, I don't know what that's about. I'm assuming it has something to do with the Articulates and how they're going to do that album with Barbara's voice on it. Not really that particularly interested in that, but at least Anita is getting out of the cancer storyline and moving into something else. So that is our video preview for the week. I've read a few spoilers. I think this will be a better week. July was an extremely boring month for Beyond the Gates, but I feel like this week might be like one of the more entertaining weeks since like June is what I'm feeling coming from the preview. So that's a good thing. Let me get to some of y'all's comments. And why I say that though about the spoilers is that I do feel like we're going to keep having movement in the Hayley Bill stuff, which is long overdue. So I do hope that is the case. Marty B in the comments said, please give us younger, more diverse writers that can move this show forward and give it some edge. We keep circling the drain on these same old storylines with the same dialogue. I felt Ashley was out of line sharing details with Ted that Shanice confided in her about. However, Shanice was the office gossip at one point, so this is fair play. First of all, you already know how I feel about the writers, so I think you were responding to me saying that on the Monday video, that this show definitely needs new writers, and I do think younger writers. Young is definitely a main thing that this show needs with the head writing. Barbara Gregg was also agreeing. Barbara Gregg said, yes, fire the writers. Katrisa Vibes said, the Naomi and Ashley shit was stupid. Nicole is lying. Ted being in love with Shanice is bothering her, and it will influence her decisions as it did when he got with Shanice. And I think this is a good call, Katrisa. I do think Nicole finding out that Ted and Shanice are suddenly in love, apparently, is what is driving Nicole to try and get closer to Kial. I do think it is a response from that, and that's what Nicole is doing now with Kial. Linda Thornton said, the top of Leslie's head flew off when Nicole told Leslie Ted loved Shanice. I loved it. This is proof that Leslie has not changed. It is definitely proof that Leslie has not changed, even though we kind of already had proof that same week when she said she was going to turn over a new leaf. We know that's not going to happen. My problem with her not changing is that the still is just not a riveting enough storyline for the Leslie character to me. So even though I was a little entertained by Leslie's reaction to Nicole saying that about Ted and Shanice, it's gotten stale. Phoenix Rising said, Noah looks just like Kial. I knew he was Kyle's son right away. Wow. See, I didn't when he first came along until he started talking more. I especially didn't think that because Noah looks very close to Kyle's age. So they do not look like father and son to me. They look like older brother and younger brother. Money Magnet Manifest said, the whole I love you between Ted and Shanice is so corny and so unbelievable. What is this, high school? OMG, this show is so sluggish and so unrealistic. Like I said this past week in one of my reviews, I do feel like they write so many of the adults like they are teenagers. I have to agree that the I love yous between Ted and Shanice do come off corny and unbelievable because now they're just saying it all the time. And maybe that does still happen in relationships when people are in their 50s like Ted is. I don't know how old Shanice is supposed to be, but Ted is pushing 50 at least. So it does come off very corny to me. And yeah, I don't know why they write the adults on this show so teenager-like, but they don't write the teenagers that way. Although, judging by the preview, maybe Tyrell will be more of a teenager, finally rebelling. Lisa Alkay said, I really enjoyed the impromptu Dupree party. They keep mentioning Lynette. She may return after all. Leslie got a good stiff dose of reality that was long overdue. Maybe this is the beginning of her demise. I mean, I hope you're right about Lynette, Lisa Alkay, because y'all know I want her to not be dead and return. But we'll see if this is actually Leslie's demise. I would be shocked if they're actually not only moving the Bill and Hayley storyline finally, but also moving Leslie towards a demise. That would actually be shocking from these writers. Keith PW5 said, Leslie might break out her motorcycle, run somebody off the road again. See, I would like that. I think that's what I said in response to your comment, that I would like that side of Leslie to be out again. Like, let's get rid of this side of Leslie that is just her being a big ol' annoyance, and let's get back to Leslie being actually crazy, because, like, that is what makes the most sense for the character, or at least it did when the show first started. And that kind of goes along here with Ember's Callie's comment. This is about Leslie, saying, what is she obsessed for? That man, aka Ted, has been rejecting her for decades, been rejecting her since she popped up from behind the Orphe Jeans counter. She has her man, or her side piece, in Marcel, I'm assuming you're talking about. And this is what I'm talking about. I feel like this show has dropped a lot of balls this year on the show. But I feel like they've dropped the biggest ball with Leslie, because they have had no idea what to do with that character. It's why for months and months I called her a cartoon gnat, because it seemed like all she did was go from person to person to annoy them with no real rhyme or reason. And so the only thing they've ever had for the character to like have any motivation for her is her obsession with Ted. But it's so played out at this point that we're going to need something to change. But I don't know if it's going to change, because they've never had a good idea for Leslie this entire year of 2026. Miss Carissa says, I don't understand how he is this cutthroat lawyer but can't see Hayley, who is right in front of him. I guess love is blind. This is obviously about Bill and how dumb he is when it comes to Hayley. And yeah, it's true. They write Bill a little too dumb when it comes to Hayley, for sure. Maybe it is because love is blind, but I don't think Bill's actually in love with Hayley anymore. Kathy said, finally some movement on the Bill and Hayley storyline. I don't understand why they are making Bill look like an idiot. The high power attorney can't put two and two together. This is why the writers of the show are clueless. So somebody else agreeing about Bill being too dumb here. Kathy also said, Ted and Shanice's love story is juvenile. What two professional adults go around telling everybody we're in love? The show needs new writers that can write storylines in this generation and not the 70s. Well, as the kids say, clock it, because you are correct. I do think this show tries to write like it's the 70s. Alicia cracked me up with this, saying there are no real climaxes as yet on Beyond the Gates, nothing but dry humps. Agree that the constant love bombs bomb bigly. I mean, they did climax the whole Leslie Eva storyline last year, but that was 13 months ago. They really have not climaxed another storyline since then. Music Man or Muzak Man left this nice comment that I'll read that said, I really need to give you a huge thank you for your recaps. You are saving me from wasting time and ultimate boredom. Now I only watch something interesting if you bring it up in the recap, so I'm not watched Beyond the Gates in at least 2 weeks. And I think I watched 1 or 2 scenes from yesterday's recap. I'm trying to support this show, but it's getting really hard. At least you're making it easier for me to keep up by listening instead of watching. Hopefully the action will pick up and I'll want to watch again, but who knows? Thank you for the comedy and for keeping it real. Well, thank you for watching the recaps, and I'm glad that they give some of you, an alert when you can actually watch an episode and when an episode is worth watching, or when a scene is worth watching. And, I will always keep it real on this channel with my opinions, couple more comments before I gotta go. Let's see. Pam Allen said, she constantly claims she loves Andre, but is in Bill's face every chance she gets. This obviously about Dani, who really, really can't stay away from Bill these days. It's like the early days of this show, when even though he was about to marry Hayley and ruin Dani's life, she couldn't stay away then. Looked like Andre was healing for her, but she has now regressed. Last comment, Lydia Duncan said, this is about Friday's episode. Today's episode was worth watching. Lots of interesting content for a change. Delighted to see Kat on the case. She'll probably be the one to get to the bottom of what's going on with Bill, Hayley, and Randy. Next week looks promising. I agree, this coming week does look promising. And I do like that Kat is a part of this storyline. They've built her up as someone obsessed with, true crime. And we saw her wanting to be a real investigator back when Chelsea was kidnapped. She was trying to help Jacob. I think bringing Kat aboard is good for the storyline. It fits the character. It makes sense. But it also needs to continue to have Naomi, Chelsea, and Dani involved. Because I think ultimately the way you climax this story is some sort of Dani versus Hayley. That has to be the way whenever they decide to finally climax this Hayley and Bill storyline. Dani has to be a big part of it. And we'll see if that storyline starts to climax this week, or at least move more. That seems to be the most promising week coming up this week on Beyond the Gates.